Good evening, everyone. You're watching Backstage on VTV. Tonight we have Honorary Consul of Mongolia to Scotland, David Scott, and also professional musician, bagpipe player from Glasgow, Alistair McCallan. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah,
okay. And also first and second winner of Chinggis Khan Marathon, Ice Marathon in Mongolia, Dr. Andrew Murray. Okay, welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Thank you. Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Okay. So first, let's start with the purpose of your visit this time. How about we start, David?
Yeah, so the purpose of this visit is there's quite a few different aspects to it. One of the key aspects is the annual Burns Supper. Mm-hmm. So this is a traditional Scottish gathering. It's always held on or about the 25th of January. And we celebrate our national poet, Robert Burns. So in many ways it's like our national day. And for the last 5 years we've celebrated it in Ulaanbaatar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this will be the sixth time we've done it. So we bring in a mixture of Mongolian businessmen, politicians, people, but also a lot of Scottish people as well. And we drink whiskey and eat our national food haggis. And we entertain them with our traditional instrument, the bagpipe. So it's a big social gathering, but it allows us to come together and just celebrate together. But in addition to that, we have been involved in the Genghis Khan Ice Marathon, which is a 26-mile race across the frozen rivers in northern Mongolia.
Okay, so are there runners from Mongolia and Scotland and from different countries, or are they only from Scotland? No,
they're from all over. We've had people from lots of countries in Europe, America, Mongolia, Scotland, of course, Australia. So it's quite hard to bring groups together at -40. So myself and Andrew had a long discussion about what novel solution we could come up with, and we hit upon a marathon along the river. So
that's great to hear. Yeah. So it's the second year of the marathon. How do you feel? I also heard that you ran marathon in Gobi Desert, plus 40. So you ran minus 40 also in Mongolia. So you must like the extreme weather. How do you describe the feeling of racing in minus 40 something?
Why I run is to experience on the most spectacular places on earth, be that in far north Canada, the Sahara Desert, amazing parts of Africa. But my favourite country, apart from Scotland, of course, is Mongolia, because it's a land of such diversity. There's the amazing Gobi Desert, which we've raced in summer. And yesterday, just competing in very, very cold conditions in the Terrells National Park.
I can't even begin to imagine how you can run in that weather.
Well, it is cold, but essentially good views are the best painkillers. So you look around you, you see these incredible sights, and I think that also protects you from frostbite.
Wow, that's great. So you ran with 20 plus men together. So you were the winner again this year. So is this marathon will go on every year? I mean, will this go on?
I think so. It's proved to be a successful format before, because people not only get the opportunity to come and race, people love marathons. It's something that's grown and grown over the last 10, 20, 30 years. So people come from all over the world to compete in New York and London, and I think Mongolia is now firmly in the circuit as a place that people do enjoy coming to socialise, to take part in events like the Burns Supper, but also to race and to run marathons. And in fact, there's been some very good Mongolian runners that we've also had the opportunity to run with and compete with, but always in the spirit of respect and enjoyment.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's come back to that, and I wanted to ask Alistair, about the experience in Mongolia. Is it your first time here?
No, this is actually my fourth time in 2 years. I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying that, but yep, fourth time 2 years, third time in minus 40 January. So there you go.
You just played outside in minus 30 plus.
Yes.
So how did you feel?
Well, it's becoming, I can almost say it's becoming a norm. I've done it several times now. I've still not played long enough to figure out whether it would be my fingers or the instrument that would give up first in the conditions, but maybe I'll find out one day.
Yeah, I was really impressed with your playing of Mongolian national anthem on this instrument. So could you tell us a bit about the instrument for our viewers?
Yeah, sure. Well, of course, instrument is made up of a few things. So you've got the chanter that had the main sound of the instrument, the one you can hear the loudest, and then you've got the kind of harmony sound in the background, the kind of drones, the nice steady drone sound in the background, which makes up the overall sound of the pipes. Very temperamental instrument.
Right.
You need to constantly tune them, constantly maintain them in every temperature condition. So they can be very frustrating, but overall, I wouldn't play them if I didn't enjoy them. So
you're a professional musician. You must have been in many places. So what is the best experience of your career with this instrument? Because this is the first time I'm hearing it in real life. So it was really nice and actually very expressive instrument, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been very fortunate with the opportunities I've had. Obviously I've played at lots of events in Scotland, of course, places like Germany, USA. But I have to say, and I'm not just saying this, I have to say Mongolia has to be one of the best experiences.
Thank you.
Playing outside in extreme weather,
Right.
and a burn supper, thousands of miles away from where burn suppers are traditionally held. So Mongolia is definitely one of my favourite places to play, and this I need to thank Dave for giving me the opportunities to play out here.
Thank you. I can't help but notice about the outfit you're wearing. So Mongolian people are familiar with the kilt.
Kilt, yeah.
So please tell us a bit more about the history and what are you wearing, and you have a knife in your socks. So that really interests me, and my viewers can't see, so I would love you to bring it,
Well,
bring it up and show it to
Mike Satel carries a reputation, so we thought we'd... So this is called the ski and do. So this is part of our national dress from... Scotland's had quite a violent and turbulent history with its neighbour, who are now our best friends, but England.
Right.
So a lot of our traditions centre around these turbulent times. So it's now purely ceremonial, but it has a violent history.
Right.
So we keep it in our sock. But the kilt, essentially, it might look to you a bit like a skirt, but it is a pleated, garment, the equivalent of the Mongolian del.
Similar to.
So each family would typically have its own tartan.
Oh, I see.
So you can identify your own, what we would call clan, which means family, and by the colour of the tartan. But this one is called the McCann, spelt in the spelling of Genghis McCann. And you'll notice it's the Mongolian tuk colours in the design.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of Mongolian themed kilt,
that's
which
very
we
kind.
wear to respect our hosts while we're here. And then we have the sporran, so there's no pockets in a kilt. So the sporran is a bag, so we can keep our phone and our money in here.
Very wise.
So that's the traditional part of it, and then this is just a kind of the equivalent of a black tie.
Right, so I see Ali wearing just regular white shirt and a tie, so it looks great. Thanks for wearing your traditional clothing for the show. Thank you very much. So David, what are the duties of honorary consul in general, and also in your case?
Yeah, they're quite varied. It's quite a dynamic role in that. So, for example, I would issue visas for anybody who wants to travel to Mongolia within Scotland. But that's an administrative part of the role. The bigger part is tying up cultural links between Mongolia and Scotland. Educational links, so University of Glasgow. Is very involved with...
That's one of the top 10 schools in the UK, I hear.
Yeah, certainly. And in the world, it's about 50.
Wow.
So the quality of Scottish universities is very high. It's one of our strongest sectors. And the University of Edinburgh is also involved in Mongolia in a big way. So we take students from Mongolia to study in Scotland. But we also, one of my roles is to help form collaborations in research. So Glasgow University is involved at the moment in Mongolia in a big way.
Wow, okay.
And then we tie up sports, so we bring sports teams and we try to bring Mongolian sportsmen across to Scotland as well, just to raise the awareness of the links between the countries. And of course the trade, the boring part of it all, which funds everything. We try and bring businesses to, because Scottish businesses have quite a lot to offer Mongolia, and vice versa.
Right, so I hear that you're bringing many businessmen or businesses, new businesses to Mongolia to introduce during this Burns Supper. So, could you name a few?
So we have whisky distillers who are keen to get their product, because whisky is drunk as a luxury product. It's not really designed to get drunk with. You know, you savour it and sample, and so it's, the challenge for the whisky industry is to bring some education to the style of drinking. So they'll be at the Burns Supper and they'll do a tasting and they'll show people how to enjoy it responsibly. And as well as that, we have Scottish renewable energy companies are quite involved, and they were instrumental in the building of the first wind farm here. So it's a very varied role.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I hope we get to work together more with Scottish people and
Yeah,
get
I
to
hope
know
so.
each other
That's
more
the aim.
in that way.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's great. I also heard that you taught some army musicians to play some Scottish music.
Yeah, so in 2013, it was the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between UK and Mongolia. So to celebrate that, we arranged for 70 Mongolian army musicians to come across to Scotland, and we diverted the flight, the immediate flight into Berlin, landed in Edinburgh for the first time ever, and they marched into the city and they dazzled us for the next 30 days. So they worked closely with the Scottish Army, and there was bands from Mexico and New Zealand as well. And they travelled around the country showing people some of Mongolian culture.
Wow, that's great. That's really nice to
hear.
hear.
It was a great event.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to get the next question to Andrew. I hear that you are a doctor, right? And you have done many works in Mongolia. I just heard from our guests. So please tell us what you do, what you did in Mongolia in the prior visits.
So this is my 6th visit to Mongolia, and the best thing about medicine and doctoring is you're always learning. There's opportunity to learn from the good practice that's happening in Mongolia. There's also opportunities to contribute to knowledge out here. So we worked closely establishing links with Mongolian health professionals,
I see.
also supplying medical supplies to remote and rural areas in Mongolia. Helping share things in relation to social housing, but also really learning from Mongolia. My father is a palliative care, so end-of-life physician, and came over to learn and also to share knowledge from Mongolia back in Scotland into Europe.
That's very interesting.
He's currently in India teaching about this. But there's also discussions and opportunities to learn in that way, but also from a medical perspective, it's very interesting. I work as a sports and exercise medicine doctor, so I've worked at the Olympics and the Paralympic Games and events such as that, and there are some fantastic Mongolian athletes, all with very positive attitudes and many gold medals as well. So it's been an honour to look after people in that regard as well. The medical challenges when you're looking after athletes in the Tyrrells at temperatures like -40 is very different to Scotland. Scotland does get cold, maybe -10, but -40 it's very difficult to advise athletes what to do, how to avoid getting too cold, to get frostbite and things. So it's a beautiful country that can challenge but also reward in equal measure. But the Mongolian people are tough and they're resilient. As sports people, if you have interactions with them, no matter how difficult the situation is, they can find a way to the finish line.
That's great to hear. So I hope you also continue your work in Mongolia. So are you coming back again next year, or is there a summer marathon this year?
There's a Ulaanbaatar marathon that's supported by the best Western hotels. There's also events in the Gobi Desert as well as the Genghis Khan Ice Marathon. I'd encourage people that are listening and watching to check these sites out and perhaps get involved.
Right.
It's very difficult from doing no running to trying to run a marathon or to run further. But actually, you know, the first the first step is to run your first 5K, then a 10 kilometre, then a half marathon, and then build up to that marathon. Because it's amazing what the human body can achieve when it gets used to it, but those first few steps are the most difficult.
Okay, so I have friends who also run for marathons, and I guess we're only starting in Mongolia about that in the marathon business, you know. So I really hope Mongolians also join the Ice and Gobi marathons, and it seems like a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Absolutely, because the thing that you need for a marathon as a competitor, you need efficiency, so you need a course, and Dave Scott and the Sandbaggers team do an outstanding job of putting marathons on in Mongolia. But you also need beautiful surroundings, things that you can see, because that keeps you happy.
Right,
when
yeah.
it's sore. You know, after 10 miles, you become a little bit tired. After 20 miles,
more tired, yeah.
You're just trying to find a way to get to the finish. But the most important thing, if you're running a marathon, is to smile at the finish, because you'll have your photo taken and you'll remember that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. How long was the ice marathon?
So the ice marathon on this occasion was 42.2 kilometres.
Wow.
It was a little bit more.
From to where?
So it was a loop along the Tool River.
Okay.
And then cutting up into the highlands a little bit, and then back onto the Tool River, and then heading in to Rel's village itself.
Oh, okay.
But last year, I was so delighted with the running that I'd enjoyed in Mongolia that I decided also to run back to Ulaanbaatar after that, which is another 110 kilometres.
Yeah, that was some very brave decision to make. So you ran back and it was minus 40 something degrees, and you said cars were frozen and stuck, right?
The day of the marathon last year was minus 35.
Right.
But the day after, when we ran back to Ulaanbaatar, to UB, it was minus 48 when we started.
Wow.
So it was actually far easier to run than to be in a vehicle, because even the diesel froze in the radiator, and our drivers did an outstanding job in getting these things moving. But honestly, it was easier to run.
I can't imagine that. Yeah, thanks for sharing a great memory of that. Yeah, David, I would like to also ask you that you also operate a tour company.
Yeah.
Is that so? So that tour company, I believe, that brings Scottish people to Mongolia, also Mongolian people to Scotland. How do they operate?
Predominantly, it brings Scottish and international people to Mongolia, attracted by the scenic beauty and the unusual weather conditions, which are quite predictable, such as extreme cold or heat, or whatever. So that's why I initially came to Mongolia 14 years ago.
14 years ago.
Yeah, so I've been coming back ever since then. But people are fascinated by Mongolia because it's quite an unknown quantity, certainly in Europe, full of mystique and interest. So I think the tourists who come here always leave with a very positive impression.
That's great to hear.
And a genuine impression, which is more important.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
You've been going back and forth for 14 years. Do you see any similarities between the two two people, and also differences that you could maybe?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of warmth. There's respect for family and extended family, which is probably the single most important thing to a Scottish person. In Mongolia, I think it's the same.
It's the same.
And both, they're very small countries, and so they're fiercely proud of their culture. And Mongolia has a very unique culture. And Scotland also has a very strong cultural brand as well.
Yes.
We have our own instruments, and, we have the dell, the kilt. And the main difference probably is that Scottish people love to moan. They'll moan about everything.
Really?
And I don't really get that from Mongolians the same, which could be quite nice occasionally to come and just relax. And,
that's great.
but yeah, they're very similar. I feel very comfortable here. And I know some of the Mongolian people that live in Scotland feel the same, going the other way.
What about the weather there?
Yeah, the weather in Scotland is very wet. It rains constantly, and everyone lives near the sea. It's we're part of a small island, so everyone has an association with the sea, the rain. It's damp, That's the main difference.
Yeah. So Andrew said it was the coldest is -10. Is that,
It's -10, although sometimes it feels a lot colder
really
because
nice
it's
and
so
warm.
wet. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's so damp and wet, you feel
Well,
there's
the
nothing.
chill,
You chill.
yeah,
You feel the chill. Whereas in Mongolia, people are surprised at -30. You know, it feels quite nice sometimes.
So I have one last question from everybody. I would love to hear something that could inspire Mongolian people about Scotland to maybe come to visit or go to school or travel with the family or friends.
Yeah, I would say the main thing, if you were coming there to go to school or university, it's a very credible and internationally recognised place to graduate from. But more than that, you will receive a great warmth from the Scottish people, who are genuinely interested in learning about you and engaging with you and bringing you into their lives.
Right.
So I think you'll find some of the bigger countries, you wouldn't necessarily get that feeling.
Right, yeah.
And I know that's attractive to a lot of the Mongolian students who come across. But also as a destination to visit on holiday, it's simply world class. Lots of beautiful mountains, small coastal villages.
I heard about that, yeah.
The food is okay. Whiskey's nice.
Whiskey's nice. I'm sure.
Yeah, but you can do a lot without travelling very far because it's so small.
Right. Great. So what about businesses? What are the business possibilities there?
I mean, the big sector in Mongolia, in Scotland, that's growing is the renewable energy sector.
I see.
So we're the windiest country in Europe. We're certainly not the sunniest, but we do get solar energy as well. So technology transfer between renewable energy companies is a big aspect of what I engage in.
Right.
And also the universities they are big businesses ultimately,
Right.
to tie them up. And then there's smaller opportunities in hospitality and export, import, all sorts of things.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Is there any certain website or direct places or on the internet and in Mongolia for Mongolians to get information about getting in touch with businesses and travels in Scotland?
Yeah, there are. There's a number. So, for example, the Scottish Consulate has a website.
Oh, okay.
And the UK has an embassy in Ulaanbaatar.
Right.
Who are very active in promoting trade and cultural links.
Right.
So I would say that would be a useful first point of contact.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Ali, tell us your inspiration about your country.
So a lot of things. I think first and foremost, I think it's very easy for not only Scots, but I think a lot of people around the world. It's very easy to take your own country for advantage, or to take it for granted. Sorry.
Right.
But I think I've been very fortunate. I've got family, not only in Glasgow. I've got family based in the Isle of Skye, which is a famous island around the world. So having the opportunities throughout my life from when I was very young to go to the likes of the Isle of Skye and up the west coast, it's really opened my eyes how beautiful country Scotland is, and I'm very, very grateful to be from there.
Nice.
And sometimes you forget that I'm only less than an hour's drive from places where people come from all over the world to come. So yeah, Scotland, yeah, the weather's not the most tropical, but I think to be honest though, I think that's what makes Scotland what it is.
Special, right.
And I think that's what makes it such a beautiful, iconic country. And it doesn't stop us from going outdoors, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
great to hear. Thank you very much. Andrew, what about you? What do you like most about your country?
Well, a lot of people that visit us say, where can you go for more information? Visit Scotland is a great website with lots of information about our castles, about our mountains, about our lochs, about our people. Secondly, it's also a great place to trade and to do business, and also, as Dave mentions, the educational institutions are very keen to receive students from different cultures and with different knowledge. So I work with Edinburgh University, but also Glasgow University is very willing to engage and support students and really offer a home from home. Thirdly, we have the best food in the world. There's a food called haggis.
Yeah, he just mentioned about that. What is it?
If you've not tried haggis, you must.
I would love to try.
I don't know if I should tell you what it is, but it's sheep intestine with oatmeal.
Oh, we eat intestines.
Lung.
Yeah, all lung. Yeah, we eat that.
So you'll be impressed. Once you've tried it, you'll come back for more.
Well, I will say I will go to Scotland someday and try haggis. And also I will encourage my viewers to visit Scotland, right? For more information, and also Embassy of Great Britain in the Northern Ireland to get more information. And thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you very much for staying with us, and we will see you again next time.